Hey guys, this is the market update for Tuesday, February 18th. I'm going to try this in a video format and see how that goes. And I'll try to mix in some writing as well, but I feel like the more visual side might be better for a lot of people. So, starting off, I'm going to show you the futures, ES, so S&P futures. So, this is what I look at on a regular basis. This is what I base all my levels off of in terms of like whether I'm going to be bullish or bearish typically. So coming into today, we saw that we finally broke out of that big pattern on this left hand side. We were kind of forming that big pennant that I showed, that big flag over the last few weeks. We had a lot of drops on like tariffs and things like that. So, be able to kind of fight through that and get up all the way here. And now we're approaching all-time highs. In fact, I'll get to it later, but the SPY actually hit all-time highs today. So um, we're making good progress. What I did say was that coming to today that the this week is always a little tricky. It's options expiration week on the monthly side. So that's once a month, and you can imagine that people have been putting on positions on the options side for a year or more on these options expiration dates that are monthly. So on those, there's typically a lot of choppiness or volatility at times on those weeks. This week also has VIXpiration, which I talked about in the last update. So I was expecting maybe some funny action, and I felt like if we gapped up, which means if we opened at a higher level than we closed on Friday, then that means that I would be more short than long. So that's kind of what happened here. So we get to this like 8:45 Eastern. So the market's not even open, and now we start dipping. So it's kind of what we call a gap and crap. What was a good thing is that it held this first level, which I'm like, okay, why did it stop here? I look over to my larger chart, and I go and see, okay, let's see why right there. Let's see, there was the 8 day down there, and then there's also this green level, which is the bottom of the sweet spot. So I always talk about the top and the bottom of the sweet spot. Top is where I sell, green is where I'm like, okay, I should buy because it's looking healthy. It basically broke through that bottom of the sweet spot and then held at the 8 day. So that was encouraging. And if you go back to the ES chart, so you can see it first stopped at 61.30, which lines up with the bottom of the sweet spot, and then it dropped again, and we're to stop again that 61.20 level, which is approximately the 8 day moving average, and also that big resistance that we broke through last week. But then we held, and so this to me is like a failed breakdown. I tried to break down out of an H pattern. So if you see something like this start forming, it's going to go red, at least for a bit. But what's good is that we bounce back and then we rally huge into the close. There's volatility, like I mentioned, on these weeks with monthly options expiration and VIXpiration. So the other thing that I want to point out is that I started adding this, tracking this line, which is the 200-day moving average on the 15-minute chart. It just has acted great as a intraday bull bear indicator. So, if we're below it, I'll be bearish for that day, and wouldn't want to put on more longs until we kind of break out above it. And you can see we kind of broke out above it really nicely on this is the last 15 minutes of the day. So a lot of buying came in, and now we're kind of grinding up a bit higher. So doesn't mean that I don't think we can go down again. This week is again tricky. So, but just the same levels apply. And now if you go back to the daily chart, now it's like, okay, well, now we have some more room to the upside all the way up to, what is that, 61.70 on ES, at the top of this red spot. So that's where I'm hoping that we can just kind of chop around as this kind of grinds up over time between the bottom of the sweet spot and top of the sweet spot. So that's a quick market update. This week is more things happening on the earnings side than like big, Federal Reserve things and all that. I think there's some meeting minutes coming out about the last Fed meeting, which sometimes create some volatility, but I'm more just concerned about just natural volatility with the monthly options expiration. Cool. And then I'll go over a few charts that kind of caught my eye today and kind of showing like why I got into certain names. So let me kind of adjust this a bit right here. I'm gonna zoom in for you here. Okay. Cool. So let me talk about Workday to start. So Workday is a name that's been pretty choppy. It spiked up a lot. I think this was when it got added to the S&P, and so that created like this huge jump, and then it just drilled down and dropped. So I was actually familiar. I randomly had a position of it the day we got the announcement that S&P 500 came. It came on Monday. I sold some, and then it just kept dripping lower and lower and lower. And so I learned from that this one likes to kind of, again, gap and crap. But it is a strong name. It has the reason why it was added to the S&P 500 is because it's one of the top companies. So I've always looked for buy ugly opportunities on this. So here was a great time to buy right at that 200-day, right? Here was a great time to buy right when it held the 20 and the 100-day, right? So now we got there again, and we're like right at the 100-day, and I'm like, okay, it may drop down here, but I'm going to try a position and see how it goes. So I usually go at the money. So in this case, I think I did 255, or maybe I had to go 260. I can't remember exactly what the increments are, but my hope was just for a push to the 8-day, at least get like $5. So we got much better than that, and we reclaimed the 8 and 20-day right here. So that's the yellow and the blue line. So that's pretty encouraging. I think again we can move all the way, first here like 270, and then all the way up to 277-ish. Very very much seems likely. So again, this could fail tomorrow, but it's just something that caught my eye as a strong company. I keep a list of strong companies, and then I try to buy them ugly when I can. Let's go to VST. So VST, this has been a strong name in the energy space. I've been trading this for a while and saw it drop big. This was during that whole DeepSeek fear thing, and where did it go to? The 100-day moving average, held it again. Of course, because this is a strong stock, and then you can see it's just been going sideways for the last few days, a couple weeks. And it's holding right at this 8-day moving average. So I think you can kind of jump back up and, again, go first to the 182, the bottom of the sweet spot, and then all the way up to 195, top of the sweet spot, which is also near these all-time highs. And then I saw some people in the Friday's update or yesterday's update, I put some positions that big funds have added, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but one of those big funds, I think it might have been Appaloosa or some other one, added a sizable position of VST to their portfolio. So kind of was like a mixture of good chart and news, and kind of and to me, I think it's going to push a bit higher. Let's see. Let's go to Umbrella. This is a semiconductor name that's kind of more under the radar. Names like AMD have just been so painful, and so I try to kind of look for relative strength in the sector when I'm interested in it. So this one has performed pretty well the last few months, and I just saw it kind of chopping around here, going sideways for the last, since November. So I played it as I believe I bought it as a reclaimed this 50-day moving average, and said, okay, maybe you can push to this 8-day. So that's still like $5 there, or maybe $3. But my goal is to try to get it all the way up to the top of the sweet spot always. So that's 83. We're almost there now. So had a position that I put on last week, and now it's going better. But just again, if I was doing this video, I could have shown that this is where I bought it, but those are the patterns that I'm looking for. Always looking for a kind of igniting bar, as we call it, to get above the 8 and 20 day. That kind of happened right here. All right, and see any others that. Oh, let me just go over some of like the big names. Like Nvidia reports earnings next week, but I've been playing it for quite a while, and when it dropped on this whole DeepSeek fear, I saw it as a buying opportunity. Of course, I didn't think that it would drop, another $10 or whatever it was, but I kind of just kept buying the dip and just waiting for red days to kind of trade around it and buy and sell within this range. But then, luckily it's continued to kind of ramp up and reclaim a lot of these good moving averages. So to me, it still seems healthy, especially right here, the 8 crossing the 20. That's a good sign. So wouldn't be surprised into earnings if we kind of pull back and let these kind of moving averages merge and kind of level out a little bit. But I'll be looking to buy any dips. So I sold today because we kind of broke above the sweet spot area. Because I thought, we might get rejected the first time. It's not going to just go straight up there unless you're APP or some other crazy stock. I said, it's probably going to hit its head there. So let me at least sell some there. And then I'll try to buy some back at any one of these moving averages if possible. But once a stock like Nvidia gets going, maybe it doesn't give you like the best opportunity. So sometimes you got to kind of chase the ones that are the strongest. Let me go over Meta. Finally went red today. This and Costco had a very similar look today. Both have been huge, like very strong the last few weeks, and then kind of as tends to happen on these monthly OPEX weeks, you get a little big drop here. So we kind of broke the 8-day and the bottom of the sweet spot, fell out of that range for the first time since what is this? Like a month almost in the sweet spot range. You can see how powerful that sweet spot range is. You can kind of just trade it up and down all the way throughout until it finally breaks. And then now we have to see if this is like a real drop and it's going to continue down lower to maybe the 20-day moving average, or is it going to create a false breakdown and start shooting right back up all the way up to 760. Very possible. So what other names? Amazon's a kind of annoying one. I bought some, unsurprisingly, right here on the green bar at the 50-day when it kind of pulled back after earnings. And after earnings, which are right here, I try to wait 3 days if possible before entering a position in that name, unless I think it was like wrongly hit on its earnings. But on this one, I was like, no rush. I don't think it's going to get away from me. So I added some, I think one of these days, as it kind of held the 50-day. Today it broke it. Now again, we have to see if this is just weird action for the OPEX week, or if it's going to kind of hopefully hammer out tomorrow, which means like a long tail and then a green bar to kind of reclaim some of these moving averages. That'd be good to see. Microsoft, this one got hit on earnings, has just been kind of dripping lower. It seems like it's trying to turn up here. This is the RSI, Relative Strength Index. I'll try to do a video on this. I'm not even a great expert on how to like apply this the most effectively, but what I kind of look for is does it start to curl up? So typically you have below 30 means it's oversold. So it didn't get all the way there yet. Doesn't need to. And then above here, above 70 is usually where it's overbought. So you'd want to sell once this kind of trends up here. But this is kind of flatlining a bit, and we're making higher lows right here. So maybe we can kind of curl up, let these moving averages catch up a bit, but then start making our way back up to 450, starting at this is gonna be a big barrier right here, this 424 area. But if you can see right here, there's like a little gap from this day up here and all the way down here, big gap. So kind of feel like it would be able to push up to 424 pretty easily if we can get this curled up. All right, and lastly, I'll just quickly go over China. So China's been insanely strong, and this is why it's not easy to short something that has momentum. And you can also again see the power of the sweet spot here. Once you kind of get into it, that doesn't mean that's the end. It can kind of go back and forth, up and down. As you can see, a lot of like green alternated red here, and kind of just trade in that range. So I'm not just like buying BABA here and waiting until this perfect time and timing it perfectly and selling it. No, I'm making money along the way by buying it within that sweet spot range, and try to avoid having FOMO if it keeps going straight up. But what I've found is like there's 20 other plays out there, 50 other plays out there. So if you miss it, it sucks, but that's okay. But I try to stick with the name as long as it keeps working, not just saying, okay, oh boom, it got above the 8 and 20. Let me get like $5 move. No, I can keep playing with it as long as it stays in that range. Cool. So let me just quickly go over maybe the earnings calendar for this week. Let's talk about some names. So Baidu was today. That one dropped, so I'm going to be looking to see if it rebounds tomorrow. There was Arista Networks ANET reported today. It was up at first and then down. I have a trailer position on that. Sold some before the report, but held some because I thought it would have a pretty solid report, and the setup seemed pretty good. I can show you that one actually. So ANET. Yeah, so this one, was super strong up until end of January, and then it dropped on the DeepSeek stuff, and it's been strong, trying to rebound up here. Got above the 8 and 20 day, this blue and yellow line, but what kind of concerns me, or what happened is I hit its head, and then it drifted, and now the 8 days still below the 20 day. So that has me a little bit concerned, but I felt like something like a great earnings report can give it the spike it needs to kind of move up, but it doesn't seem like it worked out, and I think it is down at like 105.76 after hours, so that's like right down here. So it still could be okay as long as it holds around here, but it needs to hold there, otherwise it's going to go to the 94.95 level probably. So tomorrow we have Etsy in the morning. That could be interesting. Wix, another one. Tomorrow night, Carvana has been crazy strong. And then Toast is one. So it's Carvana. Got it into the sweet spot. Just kept grinding up the entire time. Just super strong. And what's the other one that I was mentioning? Toast. Yes, so Toast. So this one has been kind of consolidating sideways since earnings right back here in November. It's kind of kept rising up, then consolidated down here, and then went sideways, and now it's setting up pretty nicely for a breakout here. So if we can have a good spark like the earnings report, we could push up to this high, form a little like cup like I've talked about, and then maybe push higher, maybe pulls back a little bit and then pushes higher. But I feel like I see those Toast devices everywhere. I think they've done a great job of making themselves pervasive like that. So I feel pretty strongly about the report. But again, it's all about guidance, and not sure if they'll deliver. But I'm definitely gonna have some options on, or sell it in the run up if it continues to push up. Other names. BABA I just talked about. That's a big one reporting this week. Could kind of set the tone for the next push or drop in China names. So you can see it is totally extended here. Wow, like 85 RSI. That's pretty high. So it could be knocked down. Could be overnight news on China that knocks their market down like 3% happens. Maybe the China-U.S. trade war stuff, just to kind of wash it out a little bit. yeah, so it's totally possible that you hit 116 and go sideways for a bit and then push up. But I don't know if their earnings report is great. I mean, this is something I'll show you the kind of monthly chart on this. This is after let's see, this is January 2022. We're now just getting back to that level. So if you're an investor that bought here, you're just finally breaking even if you hadn't sold from back in 2020, December 2021, or you've lost money if you bought it here. So, but yeah, it's forming. You can see right here, nice cup. If this breaks out, we kind of broke above this. This is a monthly chart, the 50-day moving average. Right above it, we have the 100-day, which is 147. That seems super reasonable as a place to pause after a great earnings report. But let's see. I mean, there's some positive news that Jack Ma was with Xi Jinping at their tech conference over the weekend. Not sure if that matters at all, but Baidu got knocked today. Let's see if Baba can kind of get the China names moving a bit more in the Momo side. Yeah, just a lot of other interesting names that I'll be watching, like Unity. It's been kind of memey. Could move if some related information comes out there. Shake Shack, I actually bought that today. This is the last one I'll show, and then if you have any questions, I can always take requests. But Shake Shack is something that I was looking at. The monthly chart, it looked like it was holding this 8-day level, or would like to see it reclaim that. On the daily chart, I was like, okay, this got all the way to the 100-day, the 200-day, broke below it, reclaimed it, and then I was like, okay, let's see if I can have it show up on my screener. And the screener is something that I kind of just always look for manually, but then I'm like, oh, I can create an actual way to have these pushed to me. So what I look for is a name that's crossing above the 8-day moving average, big company, and then the price is also above the 20-day. So that to me is like a really healthy stock, and I kind of just filter out some of these smaller companies with this volume indicator. And today I saw Shake Shack show up on there. I also sorted by relative volume, so that means that compared to a normal day, there's a lot more people buying on this day. So it's a little tricky when you have earnings, because like there's some of these names that are earnings, that's why they have like high relative volume, so don't necessarily fall for that. But if you see like a Shake Shack or like Oscar, for example, got a big bump because some of those funds that I talked about that released their holdings reported Oscar as one of their holdings, so that got a bump from there. But this is a great way for me to kind of identify, oh, what's a good chart. If I recognize a name in there, or if I have time, I kind of go through these all the time and see what's up with that name, and maybe I can play it. So I'm kind of I don't mind what the name is, as long as I kind of understand it, and it can make me money. So if we go back to Shake Shack on the daily chart, I saw, okay, showing some relative volume. That means buyers are stepping in, and they have earnings this week, so thinking you can get a push. So I saw it reclaim here. I got an alert, and then I think I took it from around 112 to right up here. I was like, okay, it probably will hit his head at the 20-day. So went up there, it went a little higher, and then held back. So again, if I can get from here to here, that's great for me on a trade that I didn't even think I was going to do today. So you can get a return on a stock in the move up to earnings. That's kind of the ideal, because again, it's very risky to hold something into earnings that can go to zero. So all those Arista, ANET ones that I held, even though the stock is only down, what is that, $5, because the options are, have some kind of juice built into them. The fact that earnings is over is like an unknown that was pending, and now it's known. So like it hadn't really moved much. So those earnings are going to drop in value quite a bit. I'm hoping that I can kind of spike up, and I have until March to sell them. But that's kind of the dangers of holding anything into earnings, is that could go to zero pretty quickly, especially if you're buying calls that are expiring that week. Cool. All right. Any other questions, you can message me and I'll do my best to answer them. And love your feedback. Thank you.